You are listening to Cracking Mum Maths. This podcast does not take into consideration your objectives, financial situation, or needs. Before acting on any information, you should consider the appropriateness of the information provided and the nature of the relevant financial product, having regard to your objectives, financial situation, and needs.
To have you back for another episode of Cracking Mum Maths. Now, if you've done your homework, you would by now have chatted and discussed and jotted down your life map.
That's right. Jotted down what you'd like your life to look like, and setting that 3-year, maybe 10-year, maybe thinking about your 70-year-old self.
Then last week, we asked you to look at your expenses and create somewhat of a budget.
Yeah, keeping it really top level, just determining, do you have a surplus or do you have a deficit in your household?
I'm so curious, Bianca. Now, what do we do with that info?
I guess it really depends. If you've discovered you've got a deficit, don't stress.
No, please don't cry into your pillow at night and give up. That's not what we want.
No. It's actually a blessing in disguise that you've discovered now, and you can take action.
For our listeners that have discovered they are in a deficit, what do they do with that information?
Ultimately, you only have 2 levers. So the first one is you can earn more. And for some people, that could be quite easy. So you might be working part-time now and can pick up a few more hours. You might be contract or casual worker. So you could be picking up hours again there. But for those who are employed, it may be a little bit harder to sort of leverage and pick up more hours along the way. So they're the ones we need to think about.
Absolutely. And I guess we are living in a time where it is easier now than it was, say, 20 years ago to have like a side hustle, because you've got Instagram, you've got Etsy. So a lot of us, or a lot of people who have some kind of hobby or skill, can essentially use that now to make money. So you might knit and you can sell little knitting things on Etsy or whatever it might be. I think it's great for people to start discovering that. Like, is there something that you do that can generate more income so you can keep the current lifestyle you have but not be in deficit? And I'm not talking about OnlyFans, guys, okay?
Let's hope not, Natalie.
I mean, everyone, you do you, but we're not encouraging you to get nude. Thanks to the internet, there's lots of different ways. So start researching. How do you sell on Etsy? What can you sell on Etsy? What skill do you have that could essentially be a side hustle that you could do even if you're working full time? You know, can you set something up so it can become just automatic? And you know what? Even if it's $200 a month.
That's exactly right. You just said that little bit of extra income, and it might make a world of difference for your budget. It doesn't have to be a lot. It all depends on what that deficit looks like.
Absolutely. My husband would love to just mow people's lawns.
Oh, I'm sure there's plenty of people down the street that would pay him $10 to do that.
Exactly. So get thinking about that, because that might then solve your deficit problem.
Yeah. So as we said, if you can pick up extra work, perfect. If you run your own business and you can pick up an extra few jobs, it might just be working out, well, what does an extra job a month or an extra job every quarter look like? Is that a good way of being able to boost some income as well? So just have a think about your situation, because everyone's different.
And there's places like Upwork where you can list a job or find other jobs on there. And what's the other one? Airtasker.
Airtasker, is that still around? People use it?
I think so.
High Pages is another one for tradies.
True.
Partner's a tradie.
So there's a lot to discover out there. And again, you don't need to make $1,000 a week. Just try and work out what that deficit is. And you want that quality of life as well. So think about, you know, is it going to impact your quality of life? But it could also be kind of exciting.
Could be a new adventure. Now, your other lever is spending less. So if you can't, for whatever reason, you don't have the time, or you think you don't have a hobby that someone would enjoy and purchase, let's start thinking about how do we spend less.
I feel like this is where people freak out.
Yeah. Totally.
With budget. So, Bianca, what would your advice be in terms of the approach here?
So if you've done your budget, my first thing to you would be to order that budget from the most expensive thing for the year right down to the cheapest category for the year, because you largely find that the most expensive things or the big ticket items, let's call them, are your things like health insurance, car insurances, home insurances, and probably your utility bills. They'll sit right up the top there. And they could be your quick wins. It might be a case of actually finally sitting down. I know we all hate this idea, and comparing. What's the little mew cat? Compare the pair.
Compare the pair.
Start having a look out there at what other options you've got for those 4 big ticket items.
And Bianca, this is what the thought of doing that makes me feel sick. I never do it. I hate it.
Because it's a really hard concept that you're going to have to sit there and survey all the other health providers out there and make sure that you're getting a better deal or a good deal at least. Who knows nowadays? They change so often. And then it's all the T's and C's that everyone's worried about.
And even just getting into your own account, like they make it so hard.
I'm trying to remember passwords. We might have a whole topic on password remembering.
I know. I tried to contact my superannuation company recently because they started sending me letters weekly, and I was outraged that a letter was appearing in my letterbox. I never check my letterbox and it's a waste of paper. And so I emailed them and I was like, can you please stop sending me letters? Why are you sending me letters once a week? Like, oh, we had a security breach, so now we're going back to letters. I'm like, stop right there. My superannuation does not change on a weekly basis to the point where I must get a statement every week. And they're like, okay, we can change it, but we just need you to log on. And I was like, too hard. So now I get the letters and I rip them up and put them straight in the bin.
Recycling, I hope.
Recycling. I don't have a shredder, so I cut it into a million pieces in rage, obviously, because I'm so annoyed with them. All I have to do is log in and remember my password. Can't do it.
They are really big areas that you need to sit down, focus, try and take some time out to focus on those ones. Your mortgage is in that, by the way, guys. Don't forget your mortgage. Call your bank and say to them, hey guys, what's going on? My interest rate's gone up quite a bit. And it's funny what they'll do when you threaten to leave. Probably have no intention of leaving whatsoever, but if you don't ask, you don't get. So ask them to look at that rate and try and get, even if it's 0.2% off, it all makes a difference in the end.
Absolutely, Bianca. So that's a really hot piece of advice. Do your research first and maybe see where you could possibly land, because if you have facts and you go to them and say, look, we've contacted X bank, they're going to give us this rate, giving you a chance to match it. Otherwise, we're going to have to go with them because every cent counts. I think that really helps having that information.
Definitely.
And it's not so difficult to get. Either go through your mortgage broker who can find a better deal, or you can do it yourself. And then you've got that information to be able to pitch to the bank.
100%. I think the other thing that people get nervous about when we talk about T's and C's is health insurance and moving health insurance funds. I know this is my biggest bugbear. Everyone is worried about the waiting periods that you'll have to see out in the new fund that you go to.
And that's the thing, Bianca. It seems like such a flaw in the system that you almost cannot change your health insurance because there's this 2-month time frame that you're not covered. Now, could this be true? Could this actually be the reality?
It is, unfortunately. If you've got a pre-existing illness, the wait can be even bigger again. It could be a 12-month wait. So you do need to take that into consideration. But it might be a case, again, of checking out those extras. Do you really need the top extras? Are you actually using all of those extras? Or could you go down to the medium band or even the lower band? Just depends on what the focus is in your family. Is it you guys use a lot of dental? You use a lot of optical, potentially, kids and glasses. It's a big thing at the moment. Physios. So just check what you're actually using and then have a look at your actual insurer at the time and see just if you can go down a band or two, because that can help.
That's true. And embarrassingly, I've been paying for maternity health insurance, which is so expensive.
Very.
4 years and I'm probably not even going to have another baby, but I'm like, oh, can't be bothered ringing up. Oh, what if I change my mind? Oh, it's too hard. But I could be saving like $1,000 a year.
Yeah, definitely. Have a look at it.
There's one other thing, Bianca, and we were having a quick chat before we started recording. There are little hacks that we might go into in another episode about particularly around kids' teeth and dental and how you can find cheaper avenues to get these things looked at. So we're going to save some of our hacks up and we're going to do a whole hack episode. So if you have some of these hacks, please write into us, slide into our DMs, and we'll unlock all of it in our hackathon. Should we call it a hackathon?
That sounds great. I like that idea.
Yeah. Okay.
Moving on to money leaks. Money leaks are the biggest bugbear of a budget, and we all have them as much as we don't want to admit them. There will be subscriptions galore. We'll start with that one, I'm sure, that everyone has signed up to. Somewhere along the lines, it was a first 3 months for free and then it kicks in and you forget 3 months later and it's kicking in and it's coming out of your bank account or your credit card and you've forgotten completely about them. So I would suggest that you do a very good, thorough deep dive into subscriptions.
Yes, which is so easy to do now thanks to Apple. You just go into subscriptions and they all come up and you can. Did you not know this, Bianca? Are you kidding me?
I'm going to admit something live on air that it was going to probably lose half of our listeners. I am an Android user.
Oh my God. Is that like a finance thing or?
Definitely not.
Well, look, what you do is if you have an iPhone, you type in subscriptions and it comes up and you can find all your subscriptions and you can just quickly go through and be like ABC reading eggs. Yes, kids use that. Keep. My meditation app. Yes, keep. Anything else in there that you do not use, unsubscribe. And you know what? That's a 5-minute task. That's something you can do while you're waiting to pick the kids up from school. You could do that at swimming lessons. So please, even if you think you know what's in there, log in and go through and then you can start eliminating some of those money leaks. Bianca's looking in her phone. Do I have something like this?
So guys, I do think there is something similar, but you need to have linked everything to your Google account. So very similar. Payment methods are listed there. All your subscriptions are there if you've sunk them through to your Google account.
And is that what you've done?
I could say 1 or 2. Probably didn't realize I could do the rest. So maybe I'll sit there in a couple of nights' time and start linking them all to my Google account.
Interesting. So Google does that. Mm-hmm. Is there nothing Google can't do?
Probably not.
Honestly.
You've got to keep up with Apple.
All right. So they're looking at money leaks. So it's things like subscriptions. It's also separate to your phone. What are you watching at night? Do you need Disney, Paramount, Stan, Netflix, or could you pick and choose and say, okay, 1 month we're going to have Netflix and we're going to watch this series and then we're going to swap to Stan. So you've only got one at a time. Being in film and TV myself, I hate to encourage people to only have one streamer at a time, but I also believe that the streamers are taking billions of our dollars and not putting it back into the industry. So sucked into you guys.
So rotate them round or try and get a family membership. Do they still exist?
Yeah. So definitely things like Spotify, it can be more cost effective having a family membership. And I mean, does anyone use Apple Music? Probably not. But there's things like that a family membership can be cheaper. It's probably only a couple of dollars a month, but it equals something in the long run. So it's worth it.
And Spotify obviously now does have the unpaid version, which means you have to listen to ads. But is that really that bad? 1 ad every 30 minutes? Think about it.
True. I'm very happy to pay for people's work, but I don't want it to be a money leak. So if I'm not using it, like if you don't use Spotify, like my mum, for instance, 100% does not need to be paying for it. She might listen to it once in a blue moon.
That's it. So think about your circumstances.
Think about what brings you joy.
100%. What brings you joy? Don't eliminate the things that bring you joy because this will all just become a very painful process that you will not stick to.
And is that what you believe in, Bianca? If it's too hard, people don't do it.
If it's too hard, people won't do it. And people also forget that this takes time. So don't think you're going to sit down tonight, set yourself a budget, and then from tomorrow onwards, you're all going to go gangbusters at sticking to its budget. If it's difficult and hard, you won't stick to it. And it's going to take time to create a habit.
Well, yep, they say it takes 30 days to create a habit. And I feel for this instance, because with this type of thing, it's really kind of monthly based.
Correct.
It will probably take a couple of months to just see the benefits and to slowly ease into it. And don't be too judgy.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Don't be judgmental on yourself. Don't make it hard for yourself. And just remember that at the end of the day, there's an ultimate bigger goal out there that you're trying to achieve. So just remember what that goal is. If you can get this budget to work, you're going to manage to get yourself to that goal a hell of a lot quicker.
Absolutely. All right. So we're looking at money leaks, which can look like a lot of different things, but it's usually money that you don't realize that's just leaking out of your pocket.
Well, let's have a 5-minute chat about kids and kids' activities, and maybe even gifts. All these kids' birthday parties.
This is the thing. I feel like our gift-giving society, it's too much.
So I recently was chatting to a mum who was telling me that a child that they had been invited to had asked everyone to not bring gifts and instead to donate $10 to their favourite charity. So that could be an idea.
I love that.
The problem is we buy things for ourselves along the way throughout the year anyway. So if we see something, we generally buy it if we can afford to. And we're not waiting for Christmas or our birthday for that, day to buy what we want. So at the end of the day, people are buying you things for the sake of buying you things because you've already bought what you actually want throughout the year.
Perhaps it's a conversation with your friendship group. Perhaps it's a conversation with your family to be like, you either are buying one gift and you can all put in. And I think that goes for end of year presents for teachers as well.
What about kids' activities, Nat? I feel like this is the biggest drain on families at the moment, is trying to keep kids active, but also keeping them entertained over not only school holidays, just the weekend in general.
Yeah, I would say it's becoming a bit of an issue because our kids are so busy. They are very, very busy kids. And I think a lot of it is because we as parents now, this generation, we work, we're busy as well, and kind of taxing nature of keeping our kids busy at home, playing with them, it can almost just be too much. So we'd rather just get them something to do. We might take them to a play center and we can sit there on our computer or our phone, or we're constantly trying to keep them busy because it almost makes us feel better. And look, I'm in that category as well. But I remember growing up, we spent our school holidays at home playing in the backyard. Mm-hmm. We would ride our bikes. We would make things out of leaves. We'd play in the sand pit. Like, we didn't even really go to parks that much. It was just go play in the backyard, play with your toys, just roam.
Imaginary play.
And it's taxing on us as parents. And I think particularly at the moment, so many people are trying to work from home and we think that we can do that. And it's really, really difficult. And then we pass them an iPad when we're on a meeting, then you can't get them off the iPad, mm-hmm. or you say, let's play video games. So I get it. It's so hard for you and I, Bianca. Our kids are still relatively young. They're so cheap. They can be so cheap at this age because you could take them to a park and then have the time of their life.
Just go for a bike ride. There's so many bike tracks nowadays. Well, we're obviously in Melbourne. There are plenty of bike tracks in Melbourne. So if your kids are confident on a bike or a scooter, maybe you can pack a little bit of a lunchbox, pack a footy, pack a soccer ball, and just go for a bike ride into the city. It might be into the closest park, just somewhere that you can kick a footy, have a bit of a picnic, and then come back. And before you know it, that's half your morning gone.
Exactly. And then we get exercise as well. So
correct. It's
a win-win. So yeah, I think because I just think by the time they're teenagers, they're going to be so expensive. Oh my God, they're not going to want to go to a park. What do you do with them? You take them shopping.
They're sitting down doing their homework now.
Oh God. And time zone. Don't even get me started on time zone. That is a money pit, that place.
No, the thing that gives me my biggest bugbear over a summer holiday is the carnival. If I see another carnival down by the beach that's going to eat up $100 of my money, seriously.
It's still just so expensive.
So I think the key is don't be too hard on yourself, because there will be months where you will spend more than what you had hoped or you'd budgeted for. And that can just be a function of what's happened for that month.
Bianca, what do we do with our surplus money?
Perfect. So great question. If you've got a surplus, amazing. There will be people out there that have a surplus, and that'll just be a function of they're really disciplined potentially with their spending, or it could just be the fact that they're lucky enough to have well-paying jobs. But what we need to consider again is what that life map was. So what are the plans for the next 6 to 12 months? Definitely 12 to 24 months. And you need to consider what is the best avenue for the surplus money. everyone needs to have a rainy day account to some degree. And a rainy day account, to me, it might be different to others, is the washing machine's blown up and you need to go and buy a new one. It's not a cheap exercise. Maybe there's a leak at home or something's gone wrong in the house and you need to get a maintenance guy out to fix it. So you need an account sitting there that might have 5,000, it might have 10,000 that just is there in case something goes wrong. If you've got debt, the number one priority is paying down debt. That could mean directing all your surplus straight into your home loan. And there's two ways you can do that. You can put it into an offset account that sits next to your home loan that effectively functions as though you've paid that debt down, and it reduces the amount of interest you pay over the course of the life of the loan. There are people out there that will find that easy. They can just sit that money there. They know they shouldn't really touch it. It's there as a savings and it's offsetting the loan. There are other people out there where that becomes a bit tempting. It's the money's there and the temptation to spend it is there. So you could pay it directly into the loan. So that's the first thing you need to think about, is paying down debt your priority. I'd probably argue for everyone it is a priority right now with high interest rates. And the third thing you could be doing is thinking about what are you going to do in the next 12 months that is going to require some extra money that you can put aside to help contribute towards. So it could be a holiday. You might really want to take the kids to Queensland. So let's start putting a little bit of money away from that surplus to build up for the holiday. It could be that you're looking to buy your first car or you need to upgrade your car. Now, you might not want to finance the whole amount. You might want to put a little bit of a deposit towards that. So they're your three things: pay down debt, have some money in a rainy day account, and start saving for the next big ticket item that you want to do in the next 12 to 18 months. That's where I'd be putting my surplus. If, Natalie, you're lucky enough to have done all three of those, maybe not completely paid off your home loan, but you've got a rainy day account sitting there, you've got some money sitting there for the next big ticket item, and you're regularly paying down debt, what next is probably your question.
Yes, I'd love to know what's next, Bianca, because I see a lot of advice about saving versus investing. So you should be essentially splitting your savings in half and save half and invest half. I find that concept really difficult because I'm not the type of person that's going to invest $100 every month or every week. I don't think like that. For me, it's like more of a bulk. I might get my tax back and go plonk that into investments. So I guess at what point do you need your money to be working for you? And obviously, in this stage in life, it's hard because you've got a massive home loan. There's so many expenses. There's often not a lot of money to just be putting in investments that are a 30-year type of plan. Because once that money's in there, typically it should stay in there.
Yeah. And I think that's the key. It all comes back to that mapping and planning, because it's all well and good to invest, but you need to understand the downfalls that come with that. So everyone thinks of the positives, which is the market goes up and you get an income stream and maybe that asset grows and over time you're building wealth. Yep, 100% correct. But there is also the concept that the market can go down, and we're talking stock market here. Property market's the same. Then they're one and the same. People think of them very differently, but they are actually the same in the sense of prices will fluctuate up and down. So if you have a shorter term goal in 12 to 24 months, let's say, and you need access to cash, I wouldn't necessarily be investing money somewhere where you then need to withdraw it at a point in time when it might not be suitable to withdraw because the market has fallen. So you need to think that sometimes boring is best. Sometimes it is best to just put your money away in a safe, secure place because you have something to do or something in the future that you're going to need that money for, in which case you need to make sure it's there. Investing really comes about more when you have a high surplus and you've got your debt under control. So I think it's probably a discussion for a later day. We can talk through what type of investment options are out there, what are the advantages and disadvantages of those investment options. But I think right now the priority is, with high interest rates, paying down your debt.
Bianca, I'm so glad you said that because there's so much information out there. And I've been like borderline panicked that I was like, geez, I haven't really been putting much money into investments at all, particularly the last couple of years coming out of COVID. Investments are like just not even on my radar. And so it almost panicked me. So I love hearing that like there's no need to panic. It's, there's other priorities. So thank you.
No worries. At the end of the day, it all comes down to personal circumstances. So really, if you do think that you have the ability to lock money away, paying down your debt, and you know that your debt's going to be paid off in the next five years, call it even 10, then I'd probably suggest that you've actually got the ability to go and speak to a professional and put a professional plan in place, because you've reached that point. You're at a different stage altogether to everyone else. But if you've just bought your home or you've just upgraded that home and you're sitting on quite a bit of debt, paying down debt, as boring as it sounds, is the best option for you.
Right. Well, Bianca, this has been great information. It does seem like a lot to do. And before we panic, let's get a bit of a plan of how we're going to attack this, because I operate like a bit of a maniac, and I like to, if I've got something on my to-do list, I just like to do it. But the reality is I don't have a day or half a day up my sleeve to be able to call my bank, call my super, call my health insurance. So how about our plan of attack is one thing a week or one thing every fortnight. So by, say, the end of May or the end of the financial year, you've at least looked at your options with your health insurance, your car loans, your home loans. And maybe even look into your super, just do a bit of an audit. So we're not panicking. We're not thinking this is so much work. By the end of financial year, let's just tick off the list that we've looked into these things and we have a bit of a plan.
Sounds like a segment, Natalie. What are we delegating and eliminating?
Delegate or eliminate?
Well, I'm going to delegate this week, and I'm actually going to get my husband to take the kids to swimming lessons on a Saturday morning. I like to go because I'm a helicopter parent and I like to be on the sidelines going faster, faster. No, I'm joking. But I'll get him to take the kids, and that'll give me like an hour and a half of sitting down and just working through some of this stuff. So working out how I'm going to manage different accounts and where I'm going to put money. And, you know, I am actually going to research who's open on a Saturday, because I actually realized my health insurance, they take calls on a Saturday. So that's one thing that I can tick off. So that's what I'm doing. What about you, Bianca?
It's a little bit different, I think, this week. I've decided we need to get these kids back into a bit of a routine. So
100%.
So these kids are going to go back to a regular bedtime that will allow my husband and I some time to sit down on the couch with a glass of wine and just to talk through all the important things that we need to do for the next couple of months, because there's quite a bit going on in our household. So I've decided, routine, come back. I need you.
Yes, Bianca, and I'm sure you're not alone with like the end of school holidays, going back to school. It takes ages to get back into a routine. So we're all for it. We're all for consistent bedtimes and getting back to some kind of normality, as great as holidays are. Thanks so much, Bianca, and thank you, listeners. As always, get in touch with us if there's something you want to dive deeper into, or if you have a question, we'd love to answer it. Thanks so much. We'll see you next week.
See you next week. Bye.
Bye.